Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, hi Luis. Hello, Denilson. Hi Ana. Hello, Carla. Hi Teresa. Good afternoon, folks. Hi, hello Vera. Hi Vanessa. Wow, hello Gustavo from Mexico. How great. Hello, how are you doing today, guys? I'm speaking here from São Paulo, Brazil. And it's a very rainy day, very wet, one of those very, lazy afternoons. Hope you are not feeling that. Hope you are excited. After all, it's still a Wednesday, right? It's a hump day. We still have half of the week to go. Many of us work on Saturdays as well, isn't it? So still have more than that ahead. Oh, thanks for the compliment. My cats might be joining this webinar here occasionally because they are very participative. They really like to help. Very well. Can you all hear me well? Backdoor English says I can't hear you. Then you should say I can hear Caio fine. Okay. So maybe it's just something local. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback, guys. Very well then, fellas. So, wow, Águas de Santa Bárbara, very nice. It's always nice to have people from different places, isn't it? That's great. This is one of the things that only technology allows us, isn't it? Right? Being able to be connected to co-workers, fellow teachers from all over the planet to the reach of a button. Hello, Sylvia. Glad you're here, dear. Thank you for joining us. Very well, guys. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, right? So first of all, thank you very much for taking your time for being here. It's always a pleasure to share with fellow professionals of the area. It's something that I've always found really rewarding, and I'm always really happy to be surrounded by other brilliant professionals who are always willing to uh, make your lessons and your students' experiences better. So my name is Caio Copatto. I work at Cultura Inglesa São Paulo. I've been working as a teacher for the past 12 years. And nowadays, besides working as a teacher, I'm an e-learning specialist at Cultura Inglesa, meaning that I've specialized in digital services, especially to be more specific, those that are used for educational purposes. And today I would like to share with you here a few ideas, practical ideas on making feedback more visible in online lessons. Yeah, I know that especially for the past 2 years, many of us have been somehow forced into venturing right into this form of working, teaching remotely. Um, Many of us have been doing that for quite a while, especially those of us who teach privately. And it seems that nowadays it has become uh, something very usual, right? Many institutions and many professionals, they have been working remotely, and there's a big number of students demanding for this type of lessons as well, isn't it? So let me tell you a bit of what I intend to address here today with you guys. Yeah, so I would like to start by telling you where I come from, right? So, meaning a bit of a contextualization of my scenario, my daily context, in which context I've applied these ideas I intend to share with you this afternoon. Moving on, I would like us to think a bit of the reasons and the purposes of giving our students feedback. So then we can move on and devote most of our time here on some practical examples on how technology can help teachers give effective feedback. So I'm going to address here some digital tools, a few of them actually, so we can optimize our time, so we can think more on how to use them, as in the end they tend to be quite similar to one another. So I'm going to devote here more time to one of them and show you more examples in one of them. But I'm also going to show you that most of what we can do in one of the tools, we can do in the other ones. So then you can pick and choose the one you think it's more useful or the one you feel more at ease working with. So let's kick off here, guys, with a bit of contextualization, right? So um, I would like to share with some of you here a bit of my work in context, right? So uh, I work at Cultura Inglesa São Paulo. Cultura Inglesa is a private non-for-profit organization here in Brazil, and one of the largest English teaching institutes of the country. Cultura Inglesa São Paulo is set in three states in Brazil: São Paulo, Bahia, and Santa Catarina. But Cultura Inglesa São Paulo is now merging with Cultura Inglesa Rio. So we're going to be present in many more states in Brazil starting very soon. Yeah, so right now, our number of students ranges about 40,000 students or more, considering just these three states that I mentioned. If we consider Cultura Rio and other states, this number is going to probably double. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's a large number. And I think an interesting fact for us to highlight here is that nowadays about 50% of our students they are enrolled in the remote lessons. They have chosen to remain remotely, even with the let's say improvement of the pandemic situations. Most of these students are adults, right? And here we're talking about the wide majority. While young learners and teenagers, they still remain on face-to-face lessons, it seems that the adult learners, they uh, tend to prefer the remote lessons. So many of these approaches that I'm going to share with you in this webinar, they have been widely more tested with adult learners, but I have some experience with teenagers as well, but none with young learners. Right? I have not tested this with children or teenagers, preteens younger than 13. Right? So if you want to test them with your groups, feel free and please tell me how it went afterwards, right? Because my group of focus here has been uh, at teenagers of 13 or more or older and adults, right? Well, as we are addressing feedback in this webinar, I would like us to take a moment here for self-reflection. And I would like to ask you guys to help me out with this. Let's think of the question, why do we give feedback to our learners? Can you type a few contributions? Can you type a few words here in the chat? Oh, hi there, Fabi. Glad you're here, dear. Nice, very nice. So hope you guys are following here the messages in the chat as well. I'll read a few keywords from what you shared. So we have here making students aware, improve, notice, learning opportunity, strategies, motivate, promote growth, adjust paths, progress, sense of achievement, tangible and measurable, self-awareness, accomplishments, challenges, inform, reassure. Very well, guys. Thank you very much for your contributions. It seems we have a very knowledgeable group of professionals here. And I couldn't agree more with you. I think feedback, it's really about all that. Yeah. So if we come to think of it, there is so much involved in feedback that it might be a bit overwhelming, not only for students, but also for us as teachers, on how to pick and choose what to give feedback on, and also how to organize that information, how to deliver that feedback effectively so it's meaningful and impactful and profitable for the learner. I mean, sometimes it's easy for us as more capable users of English to work on error correction, language expansion, and so on and so forth, and talk about it. But is talking about it, it's just addressing these points enough. Yeah, so this is something that has always come to my attention as an English teacher. Uh, Here's a quote that I really like about effective feedback. So notice that I like emphasizing keywords, right? So I did that when I asked for your contributions in the chat, and I like to do that whenever there's an interesting quote, just like this one here, because keywords, as we tend to teach our learners, they tend to help us focus. right, on what is essential, right, in the message. And this quote here really shows me, and I believe many of you will agree with me, that promoting autonomy and prompting the learner to modify, to actually do something actively towards their production is key to enhance the student's sense of progress. As you mentioned, some of you mentioned here in the chat as something important for feedback. So we all know, we all here probably have a vast experience in the classroom, and we all have probably been instructed in courses, in training sessions, on how to deal with feedback, right? So we can give delayed feedback, we can give feedback on the spot. We have different techniques for doing so. We can work with error correction. We can work with peer feedback. There are many options of dealing with this kind of information. My focus here is to incorporate to feedback something that comes from Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. I'm sure many of you guys have read it, have studied, uh, and even incorporated some of this to your lessons, right? So, in a nutshell, Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, I'm sorry, um, argues that there are 8 types of intelligences, right? And then some people, they tend to be more musical, while other people tend to be more interpersonal, meaning that some people, they are better listeners, right? They tend to learn better if they are listening closely, while other people, they need to interact with other people and exchange and debate and have some kind of interaction. Some people are more kinesthetic. They need to move their bodies. They need to be touching things in order to make sense of things. And some people are more visual, right? Some people, they need to see things. And that's where I think that making our feedback something more visual and also more collaborative, more interpersonal, and even more kinesthetic using digital tools can be something that can cater for different learning styles. So I think that the key here is diversification, right? So trying to embrace learners that have different types of intelligence. So a long time ago, when I started teaching at Cultura Inglesa, I came to know this website called Padlet. I'm sure many of you have heard and used it, right? You guys know Padlet? Have you used it? Mm-hmm. Nice, many yeses here. Yeah, Padlet is very famous. Yeah, some of you know it, but haven't used it yet. And I think that Padlet, it's a very good starting point when it comes to making feedback more visual and also collaborative, uh, because it enables us not only to organize, feedback in a way that it's very clear and very objective to our learners. As you can see here, in this example here, I separated here some positive feedback, right, with good examples of language use, probably taking into account the target language of the lesson, which was probably the present perfect. Another session here named what else? So maybe students could think of other options in order to voice their opinions. So here there's, I think, I guess, I believe. And another section here for needs attention. So here, that's where I would probably address the error correction. And the good thing about Padlet is that even though it does it in a very basic way, it can be something that we can work collaboratively. Yeah, so if I just minimize this and I show you the Padlet page here. So not only you can create, right, so different boxes like that by simply clicking this button and designating a purpose for it, but you can share this very easily via creating a link or even offering the students a QR code like this. So students can collaborate. So you can address error correction, for example, and pass the ball to your learners and ask them to work with their peers and try to correct their own mistakes. Or they could suggest here more options for language expansion. Yes. They could offer here more examples of positive uses of the target language here. And not only that, but this is something that the students can have as a takeaway, right? Because they can save these pages here and have as forms of notes, right? So instead of taking pictures of your board, they can actually save it, right, in a PDF file as a screenshot. Or you as the teacher, you can share it with your students at the end of the lesson. So they'll know that for each one of your meetings, you address something different during your feedback stages. Now, Padlet, even though very practical and very functional, still got some limitations here and there, right? So as time went by, I started to get to know other tools, right, other than Padlet. And that's when this idea here turned into something like this when I get to know Google Jamboard. Are you guys familiar with the Google Jamboard? Now I see Anna here. Hi, Anna. Yes. Some of you are not. Well, so Google Jamboard is Google's response to whiteboards, interactive whiteboards. So maybe you guys have one at the school where you teach, yes, and then usually these interactive whiteboards use some kind of software interface. Active Inspire, even Google Jamboard itself. Many of you work with Google Slides and annotations. Um, Video conference softwares like Zoom, they offer a whiteboard alternative as well. And Google Jamboard is also embedded in Google Meet, right? So in Google Meet, if you want to write something on the board, if you want to use your whiteboard, uh, that will lead you to Jamboard, which is their digital tool for that. Uh, Jamboard is something very nice because it allows us more alternatives, right? So not only it's much more visually attractive, but it enable us to work collaboratively with learners in a way that is even more kinesthetic, as I mentioned, because you can drag things around, right? It's not just about typing, right? It's not just plain text. You can use color coding, which is something that tends to be very helpful for some learners, right? You can work better with scaffolding, right? So you can have a little hangman game in there to help students remember something, to address some kind of spelling or, I don't know, anything. I have here many examples here to share with you guys on different things we can do with Google Jamboard. So you can set students tasks, right? So just like uh, Padlet, you can share these pages, these boards you create with your learners just by clicking here the share button. Yes. And then here, allowing students to edit this and giving them the link. You can ask students to work collaboratively, right? As in here, right? Circle the error and correct them. So students, they have to work on their own mistakes. Then you can assign it as a task so learners can work in pairs or trios. One other thing you can do is use these sticky notes, which is something very useful, right? So in this menu here on the left, you have many tools, right? So not only plain text boxes, which you can write things like here, uh, but also this sticky note tool, which will bring up this so students can add contributions, right? So maybe here you notice your students tend to overuse I think when they are debating, which is something that it's very common. So then you just share the link with them and ask them to add sticky notes and provide you other options, right? So eliciting language here for a task, it can be more fun, more collaborative using this resource here. Uh, we can use it to work on pronunciation or to raise awareness to some phonological features, right? So you may take notes of some words you hear your learners mispronouncing and then model with them, right? So we're going to a romantic restaurant and show them romantic, 3 syllables, romantic. And then here, highlight the stress syllables, ask them to do the same. Yeah. Um, as it's something that allows us many possibilities, look at that here. Uh, I created different sticky notes for each one of the letters of a word, right? So if you add a sticky note, you can resize them, and then maybe you can create, yes, unscramble tasks, right? So then maybe it's a way to work with vocabulary with your learners. You see, it makes it very kinesthetic because students, they literally have to drag the cursor and form the words here. Yeah, so maybe your learners are discussing something here about endangered species, right? And then they usually get in doubt, how do I say mico-leão? How do I say ararinha azul, right? So then you can pass the ball to them and give it as a task to work collaboratively as well. Um, Color coding, right? Who doesn't love color coding, right? I think it's a very visual way to help students visualize structures, right? And function in words, right? So maybe setting tasks so students put words in the correct order, and then attributing each one of the parts of speech of a sentence a specific color. So then once students complete the task, you can raise their awareness to this to the forms of the sentences of the target language. And notice how it really helps you to deal with feedback, which tends to be something very teacher centered, into something that we say it's more teacher fronted, right? Because you are modeling, you are passing the ball to your students so they can have the chance to work with their mistakes or with the language they produce themselves. And then you're just managing, you're just confirming, adjusting, yeah, assuring them, right? So maybe it's a very effective way of using all of those keywords you guys shared here in the chat, right? Which is essential to very effective feedback. You can add pictures to it as well. As you can see here, there is an option, add image. And as this is something powered by Google, you don't always need to have the images here. You have the option Google image search. Yeah, and then maybe you can just type a word, and then you can add a picture to it. There you go. Yeah, so maybe depending on the task, you can use pictures on your feedback as well. You can set a great variety of tasks because, as you can see, you can create different slides here. And as it's something very easy to create, it really helps you to come up with these micro tasks on the go, right? So according to your learners' needs, according to your lesson objectives, you can create these slides here, right? In a matter of seconds, really. Yeah, so maybe here a short discussion, right, about compulsory voting, and then you give instructions to students. Oh, if you are in favor, you go to the slide 8. If you are not, you go to the slide 9. So then students, they move here to slides 8 or 9. And then each group of students will add different ideas. So then maybe we can use these arguments for some kind of task. Um, as you can see here, it really brings, right, whiteboards, right, to the next level, right? It really allows you a wide variety of options there in order to interact with it. You can even use it for a little decompression moment at the end of your lessons. Yeah. So students will mark there what they have learned, what was their experience like at the end of that lesson. So then you ask them to maybe duplicate this check signs here and complete a table like that. It's very, very interactive and very versatile. Yeah, so I think that here, this is one of the most complete tools we have, right? Very similar to the Padlet, but it really takes things to a different level. As I said before, right? Making it not only more collaborative, but visually attractive, kinesthetic, and versatile. Yeah. Uh, we have many of these tools, right? We can really try and experience with different things here, even if we consider simple alternatives, right? So maybe if you just prefer to use the slides and you don't want to navigate in different tabs, we can do very similar things with add-ons, right? If you guys use Google Chrome, they have these extensions. You can download extensions like Paint Online. Do any of you guys use extensions in your slides so you can make annotation? Have you ever tried using these so you can make annotations in the slides without needing any other tools for that? So if you look up these extensions for Google Chrome, yeah, so you have this puzzle piece here next to the address bar in Google Chrome. If you go here to manage extensions, you can look them up. If you look for this Paint Online, it will bring here this menu bar. Yes. And then basically here, what you can do is you can use this as a tool. Yeah, so you can draw things in there. As you can set different transparency here. Yeah, then if you want more control, maybe you can use it to highlight words and here. Yeah, maybe sometimes all we need is just to underline, right? Or highlight words. So you can do it like this. I like to use it with a different transparency as well. So maybe we can set transparency here. And then you can do like something like this. And then if you paint with a transparency of 20%, you can use it as a highlighter. Maybe not like this, maybe the other way around. But you get the idea, right? So you can highlight words. It's also a way of dealing and addressing two key points in there, right? Maybe simpler, but also effective, right? It can really help you to make things more visual. So maybe here, guys, to wrap things up, I would like us to think of some useful insights so we can deliver more effective feedbacks by using these digital tools, right? So maybe it could be a good idea if we focus uh, more on being more positive, right? Correcting fewer errors, being more selective when giving feedback, because that will not only reduce our workload, but there's research that mentions that um, positive feedback, so working on good examples of language use, tend to be more effective than working on error correction extensively. Besides the fact that it might give students a very negative perception of their prediction when you overexpose them to their errors, right? Maybe it would be more profitable to show them what they can do, what they could do at that stage of the lesson. Um, it's very important also to vary the focus of your feedback, right? So maybe for some stages of the lesson, you could address more of phonological features, pronunciation, intonation, sentence stress. For the others, maybe work more on vocabulary expansion. For other moments, work on error correction. Yes. I think that making it specific, it's very, very important, right? And it's important to announce, right? It's really important to let your students know what you're addressing. Yes. So they they can take better profit of what you're trying to show them, right? Not only making it visible, but make it clear to them what you're trying to improve, right? What you expect them to become better at when giving them the feedback. It's also important, guys, to encourage self-evaluation and peer feedback. So I think these digital tools I showed you guys, mostly Google Jamboard, they are really useful in that sense, right? So you give the students the opportunity to evaluate themselves, to work with a peer, to work more autonomously. And I think that most importantly is to give the students opportunities to repeat the task, right? So once you address a problem, once you elicit more options of language, it's important to allocate time in our lessons to repetition, right? Because repetition is the key of success, isn't it? Once you know what is better, once you know what path to take, it's important to try again so then students can have a better sense of progress, right? So they will definitely take your feedback and the points you highlighted into account. And then probably next time they're going to uh, take better profit of it. Yeah. And I'm sure that by trying to organize ourselves and reducing our workload and trying to make good use of these tools, we can manage time in our lessons better, more efficiently to allow our learners um, these repetition opportunities. Well, I think I have mentioned here a lot about these tools. I would like to read some comments from you here on the chat. What are your takeaways, guys, from this webinar? Was it helpful to you? Nice, very nice. Like Google Jamboard. Yes, I really like it too. I'm glad you found it profitable. Trying the Google extensions. Yes, try the Chrome extensions, guys. It's something very simple, right? But it's very helpful too. You can really optimize your time management, right? Sometimes working remotely, you have to deal like with multiple screens like I'm doing here. There's a lot going on. It could be something, a simple solution for your issues too. Very well. Table, share screen. Very nice, Marina. I'm glad I could contribute to your lessons. Very nice. Very nice. Try to vary. Mhm. Very nice, Sylvia. Now you know Paint Online. Paint Online could be a lifesaver sometimes. Very well, guys. Great, guys. I'm really happy that I managed here to offer you some insights and some ideas you find useful. Hope you can incorporate them to your lessons, and I hope you can spread the word to your fellow teachers as at your own language centers, schools where you teach. Yes, remember that sharing is caring. Yes, and I think that it's a really rewarding feeling to do as I'm doing here, to be able to share with other people who are also passionate about education, who love what they do, and are always seeking ways of becoming better professionals like us all here. So, thank you very much, guys, for sharing. Uh, these are my contacts here and my biography. In case you want to send me some questions and comments, or even share with me what you have been doing with these tools. It's always nice to learn from others as well. So, thank you very much for your time. Yes, and I hope to see you guys in a future opportunity soon. So, have a good day. Have a great week.